Okay, I'm going to show you in real time how to fix your Electrolux dryer. If you get an E64 code, and you'll notice your dryer will start and then will just stop after maybe a couple minutes, or won't even start at all, and it'll say E64. Normally that means your heating element is burned out or gone bad. Sometimes these wires just flex with the heat and touch each other or cause other problems, so we're going to replace this heating element and fix that E64 code. First thing, take off a bunch of screws here on the back to pull off this back panel. You can just back up. You can just back up with the camera all the way. This is an easy do-it-yourself project. You don't need any experience, and you need some pretty basic tools. You can do it with hand tools, but an electric drill is going to be much easier. If you prop up the back of the dryer, you can make it even easier than what I'm doing here, but it is not necessary. Just find all the little screws holding the back panel on. If any of them look different, don't forget to notice which hole they go in, and save those screws separate. Maybe even make a mark on the back panel with a marker so that you can remember. But generally speaking, it doesn't even matter, since these screws just hold this thing all together. And I don't know that I even have to take those ones off. Maybe this one. I'm not even sure I had to take that one off. Okay, there's one more up here. Once you have all these back screws off, the top thing will lift up. It is plugged in right here. You don't have to unplug that. Just kind of slide it forward, but don't damage the wire. And that will give you access to the screw up top. And the other one here, which if you don't see, it's underneath this foam strip right here. Okay? With that, give the back a tug. I think what's holding it on right now is the inside screws, and I'm going to take off the cables here. You know what? I'm going to see if I can just loosen it, but normally it's easier just to take them off. And it's just a Phillips screwdriver. You would just unscrew these 3 screws here, pop it off. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2. Pay attention to which wires went where, but it's a pretty simple process there as well. And this should come right off. Just loosen that up, cable's out. And then this back doesn't come off yet. I'm going to take these out here, although I don't think you even have to. But eventually they will need to come out. Let's see. All right, perfect. They did have to come off. Okay. Did I miss a screw? Yes. I missed one down here. It came out as well. Okay. Back panel is off. Let's set this out of the way. Your heating element is in this bottom right corner here. First thing we got to do is get rid of this thing here. Pull this thing off. To do that, there's a screw underneath here. Don't be able to see it, but you'll find it. I'm going to set that over here, and then that's loose, so that's too easy. But then there's some screws holding it in from the inside. There is a little clip right here, so I'm going to pull that clip off. All right. This clip right here just pops off, that way you don't damage it. You probably could take this screw out, just pull the sensor out. Then you've got to come around to the inside of the dryer and take off those 3 screws that you see right there. All right. And the back just drops off. I'm going to put these little screws here so I remember they go on the inside. Alright. Can't really hurt this back piece. Set it off to the side. Now we've got this heating element. That's got to come out. So let's climb under here. Before I climb under there, I'm going to use 2 blocks to prop up the dryer just to make it a little easier to work. All right. There are a bunch of wires, and I don't recommend you unplug them first unless you really pay attention to where they came from. There's 2 screws, shine down here, that hold this bracket that holds the old heating element. They're right here and right here. So I may need a smaller screwdriver, hand one, to get them out. There's the one. This would be much easier with a small stubby screwdriver, and that one I'm definitely gonna need that. All right, hit pause. Okay, I'm back, and I got this little stubby screwdriver with a Phillips head to take out this next screw back in here. Let's just see if you can film that. Can you see that at all? Can you see my hand and the little screwdriver?
Yep.
All right. So we just pull out this whole bracket right here. All right, and it all comes out like this. By the way, I think this error happens when you use the sanitize temperature too often, because this is the second time I've had to replace this. All right, you've got a bunch of sensors that are on this one that may not be on your new one. Notice the new one has got 2 holes. It goes in like this. You've got this guy that you have to transfer here, this sensor that you've got to transfer here. Let's do that now. Get my electric screwdriver again. All right, transfer those to the new one. And if you just do one at a time like this, you won't get yourself all mixed up. But if you may find that it's easier just to pull the wires off, and you might need a pair of pliers to pop those off. But for now, just kind of line this up. Get the first one in there. A little bit awkward because of the wires still being attached, or some of the wires still being attached. All right, got the first one in. That's half the battle right there. Then these 3, I'll put this other one on in a minute. These 3 wires are going to go on over here. Now they're sort of labeled, but they're all the same color, so you want to pay attention, not mess that up. So what we're going to do is just pull the first one off and move it over to the first one here. Then we're going to take the middle one off, put it on. So now you can't possibly go wrong. and you didn't have to spend any time marking or anything. We'll take the third one, we'll put it on over here. All right. And you still have this little nut over here, which I'm going to probably need. No, look at that. I can get this little tool on it, but you're going to need some kind of a adjustable wrench or any kind of a wrench that you need to get this off. All right. Pop that off. That off. This comes out. We will still have to move this heat shield and the stand over to this new one, but we'll do that in a bit. And all kinds of random things are falling out of this. Bunch of pieces of burnt metal, this piece of burnt spring here, so you can see it's kind of charred on the outside. It just got really, really hot. I don't think it likes that sanitized temperature, so I recommend not using that. Okay. Let's see. This side does have the new good. It's got the new one of those. Oh, look at that. This could have just pulled out. I didn't realize that the new one came with this metal clip that I just took out the nut off. It came with it, so I really could have just plugged it into the new one. So that's even easier. So let's finish putting in these screws here on the new sensors. Let's see, where did those screws, these are the ones that are right here. And the holes are already pre-drilled on this guy, which incidentally, I picked up on Amazon. New, they're like 25 bucks for these heating elements, but I picked one up from the Amazon warehouse used for $13. So that was a pretty good deal. All right, so that sensor is in there. Let's put the second sensor on. Same thing, just grab the screws from the previous one, put them in the hole. And put this last one in. If you have a magnetic screw head, that might make it a little bit easier. All right, so all the essentials in there. By the way, now's a good time to look for quarters and other loose change or clean out the inside of your dryer. So now what we need to do is get this bracket on. And this thing should have the holes for it already. And it does. There's 3 little holes in here at the bottom, and those same 3 little holes are on the new one. Get your screwdriver deep in there. Take out those screws. Helps if you're in reverse. An extension for your Phillips bit would make this easier, but it's not necessary. Again, trying to show you this with bare bones tools. So here's your bracket that you will need. Note the direction it goes on this one so you can replace it the same way. So you can see we just line up, those holes line up perfectly. Take the first screw. I'm going to try to put it on the head, which is probably not going to work because it's not magnetic. And if it doesn't work, I'll do it again by hand. There we go, there's one. So now, let's do the next one, and hopefully that's not going to block me from lifting this back into the dryer. So notice it's taken a few minutes, but nothing about this job is complicated or worth calling a technician for. It's going to charge you $100 just to show up. Okay, so don't forget this last little wire. Let's see. That's got to go on this side. That's this one right here. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. It just slides on. Everything's clipped in. And this just goes back. line up with the hole. What's convenient about this is the dust from your dryer is going to mark the outline of the hole. Get your screwdriver. Probably can't see anymore. So what I'm going to say is, at this point, you could, let me just lean that on my flashlight and lay down here so I can get in there a little bit better. You could stop watching the video because we're fixed, we're done. And you could just put it all back together if you can figure that out on your own. If you'd like to see me put it back together, I will do that here. And it should take me about 5 minutes. So first screw is in. Second screw on that lower bracket, which I can't see, so I'm a little bit blind. So the key is to find the hole. I can't see because I'm trying to lift the camera, get a good angle. Feels like it's going in, and it's in. And so that's it. Now, one thing when you're putting this back that I will say, this is really the only thing you have to remember, is when you put this hole back on your heating element, don't forget there's a little side screw that holds it in, and it's pre-drilled down here, so you'll easily be able to get it in with the screw. And then finally, don't forget to connect your sensor up. And I'm going to finish putting it back together, but that's all we're doing at this point, is putting it back together. So, first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put this back. You can flex that heating element a little bit. Point is just to get it on. Line that up so it pops into place. If you have a second person that can hold that for you, that is ideal to be able to line it up. But in my case, the screw is practically lined up. And I get my driver. All right, and that holds on there. I'm going to go ahead and put this thing in here. And we're going to go ahead and do the inside screws now, because this will just kind of fall off without them, right? And you really need it to be held in place. One way you could do it if you're working alone is just put a piece of tape over it and it'll hold it. All right, so come back over here. Jack, why don't you hold this right there? Push this right there. Okay. Remember those 3 screws I set separately? And I don't have my light this time, but that's okay because
Get to it.
I have a light on my flashlight. Okay. Lift it up a little bit, Jack.
Jacket?
A little bit more. That's good. Well, it was good. There you go. Still a little twisted. Lift it up more. All right, never mind. Let me go back and line it up. All right. I have my favorite 7-year-old helper over here, but we've got to be able to line up these holes. There we go. Now they're lined up. Now push them in there, Jack. Just shove that in there nice and hard. Okay. Let's get this in here. If you're using an electric screwdriver, don't strip out the metal. Once it's snug, it's in. It's done. There is no torque. There's no, it's got to be tight. It's just got to be snug. The second it feels snug, it's done. Okay? Now we put the back panel back on. So, Again, you got to make sure your little wire sensors is in, the little wire's in, and it all looks good. So we're going to lay this back panel on here. We're going to put it on in kind of reverse order. We're going to take these screws, do the top ones first. Because that holds everything in place and kind of pulls the side panels in as well. There we go. And then, pay attention to this. Make sure you didn't do any damage to the screw here, but you really shouldn't. You kind of slide the front in here first. Line it all up nice. And then it drops on the back right here. And again, simply taking a look at what you've got before you start will work wonders. All right, and that's it. And we start throwing in a bunch of screws. So let me put a bunch of these in my hand. All right. Tell you what, for the sake of speed, I'm going to pause this video now. Okay, if you're putting your dryer cable back in, if you have a 3-wire dryer cable, the outside two on this flat thing are going to be your hots. So 120 each, 120 for this one, that's your 240 total. Right, that's what these things run on, or you can think of it as 110 and 110 for 220 if you want to think of it that way. And then your middle is your ground. Dryers will tie the ground and the neutral together. But so the point is, when you put these in, as long as it goes in flat, and your red and your black right here are always going to be your hots. And then the middle one could be white or green. That's your neutral or ground. So slide your cable back in to the little clip that holds it from being nicked or cut by any sharp metal, or from being pulled out. Line it up to where the little round hole connectors are there, and put the screws in. You don't have to worry about which one goes to black or which one goes to red. Hot is hot when it comes to 220. And again, don't overdo it. Once, with moderate pressure, your screwdriver slips a couple of times, skips a couple of times, you're done. There's no torque on this kind of thing. Tighten up your little clip, holds it in place. Now that I've gotten all the screws holding all the back plate back in, last thing you do is you take your electrical cover and you put it back on. And you're done. Your E64 code, or burned up heating element, if you're dealing with some other brand of electric dryer, has been replaced, and that took us less than 30 minutes to do. And we are done. Now it's just a matter of putting the dryer back in position. That's it.